sure you keep up with all the new content on Gaming for XP. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, and we'll let you know once we've uploaded anything that's new. See ya! Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to part 2 of the Asylum build. And as you can see, there's only the main entrance built. So today what I thought I would do is I'm going to build the kind of reception area, but I'm also going to show you how I kind of get it into my head, the layout of the whole building. So you'll see in a second. I'm going to get a heap of these foundations down, but you'll see in a second I'll go all the way around and trying to roughly map out exactly what this is going to look like in my head. And obviously you need a lot of concrete for this, and so I'm going to speed this up because this is just laying foundation blocks, which isn't terribly interesting, but you'll at least get some idea. Now basically what I have in mind, so I've got main reception area, and off the main reception area there is going to be a couple of wings, accommodation wings, and on the bottom floor here, so I'm mapping that out. The other thing I'm trying to figure out as well is how much room I've got underneath, because I want to do something underneath this as well. So we'll get all these in like that, and so we get the bottom floor pretty much mapped out, and I can visualize a bit better now. You can see that those are off the ground a little bit down there, but I'm not going to worry about that till much later in the build. In fact, you might not see this. And what I've decided to do, I'm going to make this a 3-part build. So this is this part 2. Part 3 will kind of show you a little bit more of the kind of rooms that we put together, and then we'll go to the final tour. And I have finished this now. It took me quite a number of weeks to do. A lot of hours to actually do the decoration on this, but I think you're going to really love what we end up with. And I'm not going to show you me putting all, you can see all those floors are in, and this is what I do again to visualize things. These let's have a look. These are from, I think, yeah, they're from Workshop Rearranged, these floors. So I like to put these in just to visualize and kind of define each area. And you can see if you look all the way around, there are kind of like floors for, say, a kitchen or something all the way around the green ones. That just gets me to visualize and kind of figure out what things are going to be. So here what I'm doing is I'm just looking for an entranceway, and I have an idea in this area here where I'm a little bit lag there, and I fall off once again. I have an idea that I want to put a courtyard. I want to do a reception area and then a courtyard in behind, hence why I'm putting a door there. Now one of the big things is trying to get this to that sits like that. It's fantastic. That'll do. Drop it down. Come on. That's it. Now one of the things that you've got to be careful with this kind of stuff is to make sure that that door lines up with the door that is behind me at the moment, the front door. And the main reason for that is when you come into any kind of building, it should lead your eye in, and you can see there's that's a bit uneven because there's 2 walls on that side, 1 wall on that side. So that's a thing that I have to get round. I don't make a change to that, it's just something that I have to work around. And it means that the right hand side of this reception area is slightly different to the left hand side, which it all works out in the end, but it's something that I don't really pick up straight away. So we're going to define the ways into the different wings of the building. So there we go. So we have to have a secure door to go into both those wings. You can see there. And don't worry about those areas that are not filled in with foundation shit. We do fill those in, kind of. So here I'm just trying to define everything, trying to figure out how everything's going to work. and trying to get roughly some kind of symmetry into the build straight up. There we go. And one in there. And you can see there's two walls as opposed to one on the other side. So it is a bit off, but yeah, we'll just work with that. We'll work with that as we need to. And I could have taken time to get that right. And you can see it. This area actually hangs out a little bit more than the front area, which was quite deliberate. I wanted it to extend that, and even though I put the foundations in like this, it does. I do have to tweak it a lot when I'm building. I don't think I show it in this series, but it's just a constant battle to tweak and rejig and whatnot. So I'm looking for the best kind of solution for the floors here. Sorry, the stairs. I end up going with the wooden stairs that they are. Now, I don't know why Snappy House Kits hasn't got one that goes the opposite way. Because obviously when you're doing a kind of mirror image on both sides, I would like a stairway that goes the opposite way. See that won't. See, it should go the other way. So if I put it like that, you can't actually use it. So that's where I end up having to do something different there. Now we need to push that a little bit further back, that stairway. But now it will mean that I can now start to define the top area here, just a little bit, not much, just enough to get my head around how this reception area is going to start working. So I'm going to drop some floors in here, like that. And one of the big things is, because I'm working with essentially a couple of mods here, I'm working with what am I working with? I'm working with Workshop Rearranged and Snappy House Kits pretty much for the most of this build. There is a little part that does fit in there like that. Beautiful. There we go. Fantastic. So I'm working with two mods here, and one of the big things when you do work with two mods is making sure that everything lines up, and the height, more so the height of the floors, line up with the elements you're using. So sometimes with different mods you'll get different wall sizes, and then it causes you issues. But luckily in this build that doesn't happen. The wall heights and the floors and everything all work together. So I want to kind of sort of make a balcony area up here. So I'm just spinning that round so you can't see those areas, you know, those areas that are open. Now that does mean that I have to, you can see there's some open areas in the floor. I do have to come up with a solution for that a little bit later. So here we go, we've got the front reception area all sorted out. So what we're going to do next is play around with different pieces, but I think we're going to put some railings in. And so I tried these initially and I go to a different one. And these are great from Snappy House Kits. These just drop right in there. The only thing I'll say about these is they tend to sit a bit, they look as though they're not quite attached. So I'm just flicking through and seeing what we've got. I want to go with something that's a little bit fancier than that though. So I flick through, and by mistake I find these. There we go, like that. They kind of sit in a little bit weird though. You see there's a bit of a gap there too. That's the other thing for some reason. I know why it is. You're supposed to put those in like that. So it does take a while just to get used to how these all work, but once you figure it out, it's pretty good. And you can see there's a gap there. I don't quite get why there's a gap there. There shouldn't be a gap, but there is. So it's a bit, they're a bit strange. Probably put one of those. You see, it doesn't quite all fit for some reason. There you go, but it's all to do with snapping. And we end up figuring it out anyway. So I lightened that footage up, and you can see that just it's not working. It's just not right. So we need to do some work on that. But I lightened the last bit of footage up because it was getting late in the day. Now we're had a sleep and it's daylight. So yeah, you wouldn't think that railings. Oh, there we go. It's all fixed itself. You wouldn't think railings would be a major issue, but sometimes with these kind of elements, it kind of does happen. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for trims to hide that kind of those pieces of the floor, and Snappy Haskets has a lot of these kind of trims in place that you can use, and they're fantastic for just hiding this kind of stuff and dressing the building up essentially, and making it look oldie worldly, and that's kind of the look we're going for. So it's good. So it has these edge pieces too. Snap in like that and that. There we go. And then you can just put some more along here, and it has different pieces here, different sizes. So with all of these elements, so it just takes a while for you to get used to figuring out how things work together and how they snap together, and all the rest of it. So it's looking okay there. I'm still don't like that gap up there, but I guess that's just me. That's, you know, I like the detail to be right. And we don't actually need that there, so get rid of that. Okay, so far so good. We're doing well, I think. So as I said in the first video, a lot of the time it is you are learning how these mods all kind of work together, and I've deep dived into Snappy Haskets a heck of a lot more than I've ever have before. So it's a lot of this is flicking back and forward in menus, but this is generally, I've left a lot of this in because this is what you do when you're building. You're looking for inspiration, you're looking for things to work. And okay, once you've used the mod 300 times, you know where everything is, but yeah, that's not the case here. So I want to try and build a kind of atrium feel up the top here. So I love these roofs. Now I end up doing something completely different with these, but for now I'm just, a lot of this is snapping things into place and seeing if it works. If it doesn't, then we need to do something different, and yeah, certainly that's what happens here. Start with these roofs and then go to something completely different, but it's here we go. So you can see I walk in and try and get what it kind of impact. I love the light coming down through, but those roofs are not going to be practical. Then I find these and I go, yeah, they work much better for me. These ones here for this front entranceway, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build some kind of atmosphere in here, and especially when you see the tour and you see the tour with some inclement weather, it actually just all adds to it. So you want this kind of main reception area looking a little bit you know, airy and bright, and you know, then you go into the rest of the facility and it completely contradicts itself, which I kind of like. So I put a heap of these in. I end up only using kind of 4 in the final build. And you can see the frame rate for this is just crazy at the moment. I think it's got a lot to do with the Brahmin. And it's funny, as I've gone through this build, a lot of weird stuff has happened. Really, really strange stuff. But doors being left open, and I thought it was dog meat, but it's actually the provisioners come in here and kind of use the beds and do all kinds of weird stuff. And you'll see in the final tour there is kind of a guy wandering around aimlessly. Seems he's a little bit lost. So there they go. The path is, the actual pathing is actually right through the middle of this building, but also just down where they're going now, as you can see. So again, I'm going to put a whole lot of floors out here. I'm not going to show you all of this. I'm going to, you know, obviously we've done this before, and so we've got the top level all sorted out now. So I'm visualizing a lot better. I hope you're pumped for E3. I hope you're pumped for Fallout 76. We should know more today. at the time of this being released. I think Bethesda's showcase is probably due in a couple of hours, and I will be covering that. And I did put a schedule change for the channel for this week, to allow us to cover all the things for E3. Some of the presentations might be a day or so late, and I haven't decided exactly what kind of time schedule I'm going to use for that, but once they're up you'll see them, and I'm going to cover about 5 or 6 different presentations. So okay, we're getting near the end here in this main kind of reception area, and the last thing we need to do, obviously we haven't got the option of a staircase like the wooden one on behind us, so we have to find an alternative here, and so this can be a difficult thing to do. With these stairs are pretty easy to use, by the way, but when you're trying to figure out some alternative and trying to use that niche in there and all kinds of stuff, it is a little bit taxing, and we're taking when I kind of put this together and I'll stand back and look, it's taking too much of the reception area up, so actually we have to do a rejig and take that wall in front of us to the left out, and kind of go into that space and use that space a little bit more, and it takes forever. I don't think I show all of it here, but it does take forever. So I'm going to skip ahead in a second, because these are the compromises that you make. So you can see I've put that in and I'm like, yeah, that just all needs to be pushed back a bit. It works, but it just needs to be pushed back a bit. So here we go, we're taking all these walls out, and it's basically, you're basically starting again. You just got to go, oh, this is not working, I need to start again, I need to rethink this, and this is what happens here. Now I'm not going to show you me struggling for the next 10 minutes of putting this stairway in. I will skip to kind of where we end up, but just don't get too disheartened. If you're doing your own builds, don't get too disheartened that this happens. It will, and especially with these big builds. A lot of this build, I had to figure out things on the fly. I had to constantly be making kind of adjustments and compromises to get this to work. So don't be too disappointed if it happens in your own builds. So we're going to drop that in there, and I'll come back in a sec. So there was a kind of major rebuild that I had to do, and during doing the major rebuild I found these columns, and I'm like, oh, these could be interesting in here. The only thing I'll say with Snappy House Kits is it has these pieces that they're not fully, they render, and you can only use them in a certain way, and it causes a few issues with the way this build looks. And what I mean by that is that for instance, with these cappings on the top there, when you put those on the side of a building, they look great from the outside, but when you look from the inside it looks as though there's a gap because the back of the item isn't filled in for some reason. So it's the only thing I don't like about Snappy House Kits with some of those pieces, and you've seen it in episode 1 with that kind of gap between the walls. Now I'm having a major issue with this wall here because of the height of it. You can see I've got the stairs in now, but the height of that that wall in front of us is a major problem for me. And you can see I'm pulling parts out, I'm wrestling with things, and I think I end up making this stairway the opposite way in the end anyway. But again, I've left it in because I think it's important that you understand that you're always going to come up against these issues when you're doing kind of custom builds, and you've got to just work your way around it for whatever reason. So show you what we kind of end up doing here. See, I'm looking for these caps. These caps, I thought they'd be ideal, but they sit down, they don't sit up. Actually, we need them to sit up on the wall, and I could have filled those in and they would have fixed the problem, but again, that's not working, so I've got to come up with an alternative. So try these half walls like this, and they sort of work, but they're colliding with the roof, I really don't want to get rid of these roofs. But it's a compromise I think in the end I have to make to get this wall to work. So that will snap up there eventually. And I think, yeah, that's right. I'll go back to snappy as kits just to see if that, because I'm using two different walls for two different mods. So there we go. So that fits in there now perfectly. And we're getting frame rate issues, and I do get a lot of frame rate issues during this build. So now we got a problem. We got a gap there. So it's like, this is the frustration of building. It's it happens. You just gotta run with it, and you'll get there eventually. Persistence, always be persistent. I'm gonna put a door in there somehow, and yeah. Anyway, so for what I thought I would do, seeing you've been so patient and you've stuck around so long, I'm going to give you a quick preview of what the reception area ends up looking like, and it's a kind of quick sneak peek of the tour. So enjoy this, guys, and now you can visualize how we make that transformation from this area that we're faffing around with now to the final product. So here's what it looks like when we get it finished. So it's a quick preview of what the building looks like, and you can see it's changed considerably from the last time you were here. And you can see I kind of get everything squared up and sorted out, and the decoration makes a huge difference, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Come back next week and we will start on the sales area, and then we'll get into the final tour the week after. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time on Gaming for XP. See ya!